From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. It's May 3rd, 2021. We're now in the 5th month of this year. And what a year it's been so far. We've got a lot of great things to talk about on today's Practitioner Brief, from uncovering a state-sponsored Iranian ransomware operation to a SonicWall zeroday exploit to Microsoft and NSA warning of critical IT and OT security guidelines. And China is targeting Russia in a cyber operation. That's very true. We'll talk about the elements and consequences of that as well on today's show. If you're tuning in live, thank you so much. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe, ask questions. I do this every single day to give you the risk, impact, and mitigation perspectives that these stories bring to your organization beyond the cool headline, beyond everything else. But could I be targeted by this? And if so, what are my risks? What could be the impact of it? And what are some of the mitigations that I can take to my business right away? That's the whole point of today's show. So thank you so much. If you're listening after the fact on your favorite podcast listening platform, please make sure to comment, subscribe, and give us a 5-star rating. That helps us out a lot. Today's show is supported by our very dear friends KnowBe4, Wistic, and Ativo Networks. So make sure to check them out and thank them as well for their support. You can see more about them in the show notes on YouTube or in the tags that we'll have on social media here after this episode is all set. Our morning coffee. What are you drinking this Monday? I got to tell you guys, I love using this glass just because of the way that line is right there, right? That foam. It was much thicker right when I poured it. So it's great. My espresso. Cheers. All right, let's get right into what's going on. So Iranian researchers over at, let's see here. This is coming from a new analysis where the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is operating a state-sponsored ransomware campaign through an Iranian contracting company called Iman Net Pasargard, ENP. This is according to Flashpoint, that they said in their findings, summarizing 3 documents leaked by an anonymous entity named Read My Lips or Lab Dukenhagen between March 19th through April 1st via its Telegram channel. It's been dubbed Project Signal. The initiative is said to have kickstarted between late 2020 and early September 2020, with ENP's internal research organization named the Studies Center putting together a list of unspecified target websites. A second spreadsheet validated by Flashpoint explicitly spelled out the project's financial motivations, with plans to launch the ransomware operation in late 2020 for a period of 4 days between October 18th and the 21st. Another document outlined the workflows, including the steps for receiving Bitcoin payments from ransomware victims and decrypting the locked data. It's not immediately clear if these attacks went ahead as planned and whom they targeted. You can see here in Farsi the layout. This is thanks to the Hacker News is where we're getting this story from. And despite the project's ransomware theme, the researchers suspect that the move could likely be a subterfuge technique to mimic the tactics, techniques, and procedures of other financially motivated cyber criminals in order to blend in the landscape. This is kind of where geopolitics meets us as cybersecurity practitioners. Iran is a threat actor. The current administration is negotiating. In fact, over the weekend, they're lifting $7 billion worth of sanctions on Iran. We'll see if that changes anything in the cyber perspective, although I doubt it. I think all this is going to do is empower them. Iran, we've covered this here on the Practitioner Brief, has been training Hezbollah and building their cybersecurity unit as well. They've already empowered Hamas with their cybersecurity unit. So I don't see these guys calming down now. That's why it's important that we reach out to our representatives, that we reach out to State Department when we're targeted by Iranian malicious activities, and let them know so that there's some sort of consequence and a record for it as well. We'll move to our next story where Microsoft is warning of 25 critical vulnerabilities in the IoT and industrial device services. The Azure Defender security team discovered the memory allocation is a systematic problem that can allow threat actor to execute malicious code remotely or cause an entire system to crash. It's Monday. I am a little babbling of that. A few comments about our previous story here. So it's concerning the reports of John Kerry letting Iran know of the cyber attack. John Kerry didn't only let Iran know of a cyber attack, he also shared critical intelligence information of people who were cooperating and assisting intelligence agencies. So it's what John Kerry did is a jail sentence. It's treason, and that's my personal opinion on the matter. Argani says, morning and thanks for the news update. Thank you for tuning in. All right, here we go. Let's keep going with this story over on Azure. So the Azure Defender security team discovered the memory allocation is a systematic problem that can allow threat actors to execute malicious code remotely or cause entire systems to crash. So the security researchers over at Microsoft are warning the industries about 25 as of yet undocumented critical memory allocation vulnerabilities across a number of vendors, IT, and industrial devices that threat actors could exploit to execute malicious code across a network or cause the entire system to crash. The bad alloc is Microsoft Section 52, which is the Azure Defender for IoT Security Research Group, said the flaws have the potential to affect a wide range of domains, from consumer to and medical IoT devices to industry IoT, OT, and ICS systems, according to a report published Thursday by the Microsoft Security Response Center. The research shows that there's a lot more to it. They found that the problem is systematic, so it can exist in various aspects of devices, including real-time operating systems, embedded software development kits, and C standard library implementations. As IoT and OT devices are highly pervasive, these vulnerabilities, if successfully exploited, represent significant potential risks for organizations of all kinds. They haven't seen any of these vulnerabilities being taken advantage as of yet. Mind you, the moment I read this, the moment it's published, the moment it's written, the threat actors and our adversaries see it as well. So if you're vulnerable, start putting in controls in place. That could be upgrading encryption, that can be upgrading detection technology. It could be setting redundancies on some of these IoT devices, meaning if you see one crashing, you're able to set up a whole other separate network for it. Isolation is also a very good one, maybe setting just the IoT network all for itself and maybe creating separate networks for a group of IoT devices, depending on how many you're using within your environment, would be very effective as well. We'll move to our next story. Hackers already start to exploit the SonicWall zero-day bug in a FiveHands ransomware attack. The specific story, which is an aggressive financially motivated threat group, tapped into the zero-day flaw in the SonicWall VPN appliances prior to being patched by the company to deploy a new strain of ransomware called FiveHands. The group, tracked by cybersecurity firm Mandiant as UNC2447, took advantage of the improper SQL command neutralization flaw in the SSL VPN SMA 100 product with a CVSS score of 9.8 that allows an unauthenticated attacker to achieve remote code execution. UNC2447 monetizes intrusions by extorting their victims first with FiveHands ransomware, followed by aggressively applying pressure through threats of media attention and offering victim data for sale on criminal forums. UNC2447 has been observed targeting organizations in Europe and North America and has constantly displayed advanced capabilities to evade detection and minimize post-intrusion forensics. CVE 2021-20016 is the same zero-day that the San Jose-based firm said was exploited by sophisticated threat actors to stage a coordinated attack on its internal systems earlier this year. So if you have SonicWall, get it patched, get it updated, because these guys are there. Thank you so much, Igor, and you have a great week yourself, good sir. Our two final stories here is an unknown Chinese APT is targeting the Russia defense sector. What does this have to do with anything? very little except the fact that we are said to believe that Russia and China are in cahoots, but they're not really in cahoots. They're actually targeting each other in cyber operations as well. And there's reason to believe that. Cyber Reason researchers have now called this specific attack port door. And according to the report, they've been looking at Russian submarines and their plans. This could be part of China's plan to steal military IP in order to create, and China already has the largest navy in the world. They're also using this as well to provide an image of an autonomous underwater vehicle. This is their UAV submarines that are able to operate in extreme depth and in stealth operations. No risk to you and to organizations, but I found this story to be very, very interesting simply because of a lot of the narrative around Russia and China in cyberspace, and to see them go after each other is not only satisfying, it also lets you know that, the enemy of the enemy is my friend, and if you can, impact one of them to change its perception, you'd be able to limit the other one. And the biggest threat today is China. It's definitely not Russia. And our final story is the NSA issues guidance on securing the IT and OT connectivity. So the U.S. National Security Agency released a cybersecurity advisory on the security of operational technology system, particularly in terms of connectivity to IT systems. The NSA advisory titled Stop Malicious Cyber Activity Against Connected Operational Technology specifically addressed to the Department of Defense, national security systems, and defense industrial base organizations, but the recommendation can be useful to any industry. The advisory shares recommendations for evaluating risks and improving and securing connections between IT systems that can often serve as an entry point into industrial networks and OT systems. Each IT-OT connection increases the potential attack surface. And an example the agency provided was the SolarWinds incidents, which impacted hundreds of industrial organizations, including in the critical infrastructure. The guidance provided by the NSA focuses on assessing the risk associated with the connectivity between IT and OT systems and steps recommended for improving the security of these connections. Something to keep an eye on is a lot of these connections go either unencrypted or through some sort of VPN because of the latency of that technology. There's now new technology out there. I've had several of these people on some of my other programs. You guys should go and definitely check it out. The advisory released this last week isn't the first, and it probably won't be the last by the NSA, as CISO will probably follow through, and many more. That's it for our practitioner brief today. Folks, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with a lot more here at 9 a.m. Eastern time, live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So you want to tune in there. Until then, thanks so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Go follow the CyberHub podcast and check out our CISO Talk podcast, our State of Vendor Risk Management with Patrick Benoit and Nick of CBRE. And a final good morning to Matt here before we sign off, folks. Again, cheers. Have a great rest of your day. Have an amazing, amazing week, and stay cyber safe, guys. Take care.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.